Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's financial astrology, almost global astrology, my usual channel, financial astrology. And this evening, this is a little bit of a surprise, a little bit of an ambush. I've not advertised this much. I've just been mulling over just a lot of the things that have been happening of late, economy wise. And it's been a while actually since I've made a little video on this channel, so I think it was long overdue that I dive in and give you guys some kind of updates. So one of the things I want to talk about today is the economy of Japan. I want to talk about the economy of Japan. I also want to talk about the Genius Act, which is this act for stable coins that's been passed by the US Congress. No, the Senate, I think it is, on the 17th of June. And then I also as well want to talk about the argument, the newest argument between Trump and Elon, yeah, Musk. Oh my goodness! So we're gonna kind of dive in there. Oh, there's some people popping into the chat. So nice to see you. Let's just see here. Mary Jazz Cat says, "Greetings, fellow Earthlings." And Dion Marie is saying, "Help! Oh, bless! What help in what sense? Like help? Like what's going on? If you could elaborate on that for me, or do you mean like help in terms of finances and stuff like that? So let's just give a little. Let's see. I think it's been a few weeks. It may have been a few weeks since I did my last financial video. So let's just kind of touch base. Like we are in times of extraordinary change. I mean, everyone everywhere. So let's give a little backdrop. Of course, my last videos would have been about Trump's tariffs. Yeah, do you remember that? Trump's tariffs. And then we also talked about student debt. We talked about Medicare. We spoke about lots of different things. Now, of course, cost of living is a major impact, particularly on the American people right now, because of the tariffs. Of course, are going to make prices go up. It's not going to make everything cheaper, no matter how much the administration may say otherwise. Everyone, all you have to do is just look at your grocery prices. Yeah, that will always tell you the truth. So there is that already. There are huge amounts of unsustainable debt. Lots of people are, the credit card debt is it's over $1 trillion now. Credit card debt for ordinary Americans. You got student loans, which are being garlanded from people's wages. So many different things. The cost of Medicaid, the cost of medical cover and care, if you can even afford it. The cost of bills, everything is just so extraordinarily expensive. Around the world, there is a reaction economically, of course, as well to the United States. So because of the sanctions and because of the deportations with ICE and because of people being strip searched at US customs and being detained by ICE, put in leg irons and stuff like that. I'm not even making this stuff up. I mean, I'm literally like, this is just stuff that's been going. This is having a devastating impact on US tourism. Yeah. But what it also means is that the whole global economy is essentially recalibrating itself. Yeah, it's recalibrating itself. Alliances are changing, but there's a lot of volatility. And also as well, what I forgot to add as well, we're having also the impact of AI on people's jobs. So again, this is very important for the economy as well, happening mainly in the United States first, but obviously the rest of the world will catch up at some point. I think it's going to be slower in Europe and other parts of the world because there's more protections for workers' rights and jobs. But to put in perspective, Microsoft, I think, got rid of 10,000 jobs last week. Amazon also got rid of 12,000 that week. I think IBM got rid of 20,000 people. Oh, this is all last week, by the way. So there's huge impact being felt as well in the tech industry and stuff like that. And as you know, this is my financial channel. This is where we get the chance to kind of discuss and go deeper into what is going on, you know, in the world. So one of the places we really need to talk about is Japan. Yeah, we need to talk about Japan. So Sandra Doyle saying healing and blessings, everyone from Canada, from Canada's BC, which would be British Columbia, wouldn't it? Kootenays, lovely. Thanks so much for joining us. And Kristen is saying hello to everyone. Much appreciated. Regina is saying hello. And then Dion saying it's just a dumpster fire in the States. Yeah, God, tell me about it. So we're going to get onto that. So let's take a look at Japan. Why am I wanting to talk about Japan? Well, of course, this is a financial astrology channel. So, of course, I'm going to be looking at important things, not only in the US, but globally. Now, why does this matter? Japan is one of the world's biggest holders of other countries' debt. In fact, Japan is the biggest, and China is second, but I learned recently that apparently Japan is first. They're definitely either first or second place for holding the most US issued government bonds. Yeah, so Japan holds a tremendous amount of US debt. Part of the reason why it's able to hold so much debt is because the yen, basically in the 90s, you know, essentially Japan went through an economic crash and has been in a state of stagflation pretty much for, well, not stagflation, like zero interest rates, minus interest. They've really not had any kind of inflation. It has been problematic for the country, but it also means as well that Japan is still, especially in comparison to other countries, a lot of people don't know this, Japan is still relatively cheap. Yeah, it might cost you quite a bit on the ticket to get there, and forgive me having so much chest out, but it's been absolutely boiling. Europe is having a heat wave, including the UK. It's been very, very hot. But basically, the Japanese currency has been very, very low for a long time. They've had next to no inflation. It's starting to go up now. It's starting to go up now, which means that things that were bought with like the Japanese yen, for example, people would buy the Japanese yen and then they would convert into other currencies and buy certain things. And anyway, Japan has bought a lot of US debt, which means Japan is crucial, absolutely crucial for the global economy. We talk about the US economy a lot, which of course is very important, but Japan is one of the main debt holders along with China. So, for example, if Japan were to be in a scenario where it sold off a lot of that American debt, which it did actually a few weeks ago, completely spooked the markets. I can't remember, Trump was doing something a bit crazy, and the Japanese were like, you know what, we're going to just start selling these bonds because they're no longer as safe. Yeah, and the bond yield started to go up, and that, you know, long story short, if Japan were to sell all of its US bonds, it would basically tank the US economy. Yeah, that's the long and short of it. America would no longer be able to raise cheap debt. That is just, it's a gross simplification, but just to put this into context, why am I so focused on Japan and China being the second largest holder, or the first? I can't remember, but it's one of it, you know, 1 and 2, yeah, 2 or 2 and 1. Why does this matter? The reason why it matters is because Japan is having a little bit of an issue right now with its economy. And I just want to do a little thank you here. Thank you, Liz, so much for your kind donation. Much appreciated. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And then we're just going to start getting into a little bit of detail, and then we're going to start looking at stable coins and stuff like that. So let's just do share screen. And we're going to go to, this is the Financial Times. So you see here the Financial Times, and we're just going to look at some of these headlines. So Japanese policy, politics and policy. So Japan digs in on rice and cars as U.S. trade talks stall. So let's not forget that at the moment, Japan, through no fault of its own, was slapped with 25% tariffs for basically being an ally of the United States. Yeah, and this has not gone down well in Japan, and the Japanese actually feel very insulted, actually, and they've been told to spend more on their defense, etc., and they feel very kind of let down again. So the talks, you know, aren't really doing so well. So BOJ means Bank of Japan. So slow exit from bond market. Yields on long dated government bonds surged to records highs in May. So that's not good. When the debt you're issuing to people, when that starts to go up, it means obviously it's costing that country more to finance its debt. So Japan is also worried about its own bonds, as well as potentially the bond yield for American debt. And then we've got Bank of Japan. Surge in bond yields adds pressure on Bank of Japan. You see policymakers decide on how to proceed with tapering of massive bond buying program. So that is where Japan has been buying a lot of US bonds and bonds in other countries as well. And look at the dates here. Do you see they're very close together? We've got June 14th, June 17th. You know, it's the 1st of July as I'm doing this right now, and it's 10 to midnight UK time. If we also look at this as well, June 11th here, demographics and population. Japan urged to use gloomier population forecast after plunge in births. Number of children born in 2024 already worse than medium forecast for 2039. So for those that may not be aware, Japan has got a birthing crisis, a population crisis. It's one of the oldest nations on earth, which means the mean average of the average Japanese person, I think it might be in the mid 50s now, something like that. Basically, not enough Japanese people are being born. So of course that affects the economy, because you have less people of working age that are paying taxes, that pay into people's pensions, etc., and stuff like that. Japan is the 4th largest economy in the world. So, you know, this is very important. Italy, for example, has a population issue. This is part of the reason why they're selling houses for €1 in Italy. You have to spend about 40K doing 40,000 euro doing, you know, roundabout minimum. Sometimes some people spend a lot more than that, but it's in that ballpark. You can buy a house for €1 in some kind of desolate or deserted or declining population place in Italy as a way to boost their population. Yeah, Japan is not quite doing anything like that, but they really are going to have to look at it. And it says here, June 6th, the Japanese queue for hours as rice shortage deepens. So rising prices and poor harvests create a political pressure for Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba ahead of a July poll. So of course we're in July now. So let's just actually look a little bit at that story. It's put up a paywall. Okay, fine, fair enough. I'm not going to be paying for the Financial Times a little bit, but anyway, we can see these headlines here. So what we can see is that things in Japan are maybe not so great right now, but there is also as well, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, there is, now I spoke about this on my, was it this channel here? No, it was on Hogarth's Global Astrology. I spoke about the Japanese author, a manga illustrator called Ryu Tatsuki, yeah, and who has made a prediction that in July, apparently she said the 5th of July, today's the 1st of July, 2025, she said there was going to be a massive tsunami that was going to strike Japan and affect Taiwan and Philippines. And she said catastrophic. Yeah, catastrophic. Apparently, this is having a lot of traction. People are starting to cancel trips and stuff like that to Japan. Some of you may know of a Vedic astrologer like myself called Joni Patri. She's been around. She's a real veteran of YouTube. Knows a lot to do with Vedic astrology. She's a bit, she's a bit Republican, a bit blah blah blah. But anyway, not judging. But in terms of she did a video recently going back over that prediction. I did this, I think, a few months ago. I think on one of my Sunday reflections videos. So this was a few months ago, because this has been talked about for a long time, by the way. We're not the only astrologers talking about this, but think about it. And Joni was looking at some of the charts when the last big earthquakes happened in Japan, and she actually bona fide, genuinely accurately predicted, a big earthquake in Japan on the 11th of March 2011, I think it was, earthquake tsunami, which was devastating. Actually, I'm just remembering the pictures now in my mind's eye. And it's looking like there might be something like this on the cards again. Now, I am hoping that this does not happen, of course, because it would be absolutely devastating. Absolutely devastating. But the reason why I'm mentioning this as well in the context of this financial astrology and stuff like that is, think about it. Japan is one of the biggest owners of US debt. Yeah. If anything happens to Japan, they have some economic downturn or some, God forbid, I really hope not, some kind of natural disaster or calamity, that is going to have an immediate effect on Japan. I mean, not only on Japan, but on the USA and the global markets as a whole. Because if they were to have some almost kind of cataclysmic natural event happen, this is bad news. I mean, first of all, it would be, I do not want this to happen. I do not want this to happen. I am hoping that it will pass and that the timelines have shifted and it will pass. But if it hasn't, then we really do need to brace ourselves, because this could be really something massive that a lot of people haven't bargained for, because Japan's economy is already struggling a bit already. There's been, like I showed you that headline there with the rice, they've not had a good rice harvest this year. Yeah. So people are queuing for rice, as you can see. This is the Financial Times. You can see it's not hyperbole or what have you. The Financial Times, it isn't necessarily one for sensationalism and stuff like that. But that was just to give you a context. I wanted to show you how you could see these different headlines happening in Japan. So they are not very comfortable at the moment. But what people may not realize is the connection between Japan and the US economy, and Japan and the global economy. They are the fourth largest economy in the world. Yeah. If you were to take California on its own, that would actually count as the fourth. Yeah. Which is a whole nother thing, which is why I was saying the blue states could be the first ones to actually secede from the union. I know a lot of people don't think it's going to happen, but it is something that I could see happening in the not too distant future in the USA. But the whole point is, this is more pressing now. Now, I'm hoping that this passes. However, considering the astrology of the moment, there could be something to it. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just share my screen with you, and we're going to do entire screen. Let's do share. And then I'm going to share. So if we look here, this is the chart of Japan. Yeah, this is the chart of Japan. 3rd of November 1946, 8:30 a.m. Tokyo. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to do a full analysis and all of that kind of stuff. But one of the things that Joni was looking at, and I think she's got a very good point, she was saying that when there was the big, one of the most, I think it was one of the biggest earthquakes / tsunamis in Japan was in 1929. And she said the nodes of the moon and planets were in Leo and in Aquarius. This seems to be a very sensitive part for the Japanese chart. The Japanese chart is actually very scorpionic. This actually I found very interesting. So you see here the rising sign is Scorpio, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 planets there. So K2, Mercury, Venus retrograde, and Mars all together. This means that Japan is a very scorpionic nation. Now, Scorpio is all about depths, yeah, going to the depths. Scorpio is a very circumspect, very deep, but very intense sign, very intense. And it is a water sign, which I also find very interesting as well, because obviously tsunamis and stuff like that, I mean, it's a Japanese word. It's basically when you have earthquakes underwater. The planets that deal with earthquakes are Neptune and Uranus. They really are. Yeah, they really are. Now, what's important to know is you can see here in Japan's chart, Uranus is actually in the 7th house. 7th house is anyone that's not us. It deals with import, trade, export, imports and exports, all of this kind of stuff. But it is an angle, and angular houses are very, very important. If we actually look here where it says TR, this means transits. This is where the planets are right now as of today. And we see Uranus is back. Yeah. Uranus is currently at 5 degrees, 32 minutes of sidereal Taurus. Yeah. 5 degrees. Uranus, remember, can deal with earthquakes. And Taurus is an earth sign. This is also the time as well when we think of what was going on in the Second World War and stuff like that, because obviously in 1945, Japan, you know, got bombed, wasn't it? In 1945, you know, in the Second World War, they got bombed. You had all the horrors of Hiroshima, etc., and all of this kind of stuff. This is why they were born again in 1946. Yeah, after all the everything that happened and the colossal horrors. Yeah, and obviously it didn't work out, did it? Yeah. For the Japanese, the Second World War. So you can see for them, they are having a Uranus return. But guess what? Just remembered, America is having a Uranus return as well. So you see, there's a little bit of a connection there. Taurus is the sign of money. It deals with stability, it deals with family, it deals with the face, neck, the teeth, it deals with asset classes of all kinds. It can literally deal with things like banking, food, commodities, artwork, anything of intrinsic value. And you guys will remember from my previous predictions, you remember how I was saying, I said, look, the global finance is going to change because Uranus is a digital planet, yeah, deals with the shock of the new, innovation, visionaries, but also science. It is AI. It's critical. For the longest time, I said when Uranus went into sidereal Taurus, which it did on 1st of June last year, retrograded out and then came back in earlier this year, I said we're going to see changes in global finance. And I'll share with you as well something that the Senate just passed recently as well in terms of stable coins, crypto. Yeah, so you see how it's all forming together. But Uranus deals with earthquakes. Taurus is an earth sign, but it doesn't have to be a literal earthquake. Remember, Taurus is also finances. Maybe there could be some kind of financial earthquake, or maybe is it some kind of natural disaster or something happens that is beyond Japan's control and it triggers a succession of events because the economy is already having a bit of a wobble. Do you see where I'm going here? And then because Japan are one of the main holders of US debt, bonds, if something happens to Japan, then it's going to affect what? America's economy. Do you see where I'm going? That's why I'm kind of like blending the two together. And then when I'm just looking at Japan, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of energy in water. Yeah, this scorpionic energy. My nickname for Scorpio, I call it bottom of the ocean. Yeah, it deals with the depths. But what's important to point out here, if we look over here, you'll see here Saturn and Neptune are very, very close together. They're both at 7 degrees. 7 degrees and loose change. Saturn is at 7 degrees 37 minutes. Neptune is at 7 degrees 57 minutes. I think it's like 1st of February 2026 they'll become exact, but any planets within 3-degree orb of each other is a very, very close conjunction. You know, 2-1 degrees direct hit. They're both at the same degree, which means they're strongly affecting each other. What is Neptune? Neptune is god of the sea, god of the oceans, and it's in the sign of Pisces, which is also its sign of co-rulership. So the god of the sea is in the oceanic sign. Remember, Neptune is earthquakes as well. Do you see where I'm going here, where I'm joining the dots? What is Saturn? Saturn deals with government. Saturn is a business planet as well. Saturn, Venus, and Mercury are all planets of business, but Saturn is like government. It deals with infrastructure. It deals with rules, regulations. It also deals with hardships or hard work, hard graft, discipline. Yeah, discipline. So when you get these two energies blending together, they're really quite opposite. Neptune is very diffuse. Neptune is known as the great dissolver. It dissolves the boundary between the three-dimensional world and the realms beyond. So Neptune has a dissolving quality. It breaks things down. This is also a combination that is very difficult for Russia. Yeah, whenever Saturn and Neptune are together or squaring each other, big events happen in Russia, and Putin has just basically admitted, giving warnings to the Russian population that economy is not looking so good. Yeah. What this means is that this Neptune effect on Saturn is going to have a global effect on governments. Rules and regulations seem to be what? Dissolving. Look at the world. It's looking like it's feeling like, you know, Mad Max or the Wild West at the moment. Have you noticed how many countries and stuff are, you know, and particularly the current administration regime is not really obeying the rules? Yes, Saturn is the what? The rules, regulations. It's the Jupiter represents the concept of the law. Saturn is the rules and the regulations and the guardrails. Mars will be the law enforcement. Yeah, you see those three work together in terms of law being put behind bars. Yeah, you need all three. So Saturn is the concept of the rules and regulations of the global order of governments. And yet you've got Saturn here is in Neptune, is in Pisces with Neptune. So there is a strong dissolving quality here. Now, one of the things that, now this prediction was due for like potentially 5th of July. But one of the things Joni Petrie was saying was that the whole month is looking vulnerable. And I looked at her analysis and I checked her analysis, and she's got a very good point. I think one of the most important things to understand, though, is that soon, I think it's between the 5th and the 12th of July, essentially Saturn and Neptune are going to go retrograde. It means they're going to stand still. They're effectively almost standing still already. Look, today is the 1st of July, so they're not really going to be moving very far. And in fact, if I do here animated transits, let's do animated transits for you. I wasn't expecting to go this deep into it, but do you see how I'm weaving in things with America and stuff like that as well? Because this is also happening to everyone across the globe. Now, what I want you to look at is this smaller box here, yeah? This box here. And I'm going to click forward in time, and then we're going to see a little R appear next to Neptune and Saturn, which means retrograde. So we're going to be seeing when they go retrograde. Now it's going to be happening very soon. So I'm going to click on daily here, and I'm going to click forward in time. At the moment, you can see it's saying the 1st of July. Yep. So 1, so 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Aha, do you see? Neptune starts going retrograde on the 4th, but really it's effectively standing still already. Do you see the degree? If we go back to the 1st, do you see it says 7 degrees and 57 minutes? 2nd, yeah, 7:57. Do you see? Standing still. 3rd, 7:57. And then it starts going retrograde. You'll notice as well, Saturn's number didn't move either. Yeah, going back, do you see? So they're both standing still already. If we click forward, let's see when Saturn starts going retrograde. And let's see, I think it starts going retrograde around the 12th. Let's see. So you see, look, we're now looking at the 10th of July. Neptune hasn't moved. And then let's look at the 12th. Let's see. There we are. So on the 13th, we see Saturn also goes retrograde. But really, they're both standing still. When planets stand still, they become much more powerful. Yeah? Very, very powerful indeed. So they're basically standing still right now. Saturn is government and infrastructure. Neptune is god of the sea and also deals with earthquakes and is standing in sidereal Pisces, which is also the oceans. Saturn is what? Infrastructure, government, but it's infrastructure, roads, buildings, railway lines, all of that stuff. Yeah, so it's yeah, this is why I'm a little bit worried. But this could also be, could there be something that happens in the Japanese financial system? Because Saturn is also a planet of finance. Neptune is dissolving. There could be, maybe there's one or two triggers. I really hope it's not tsunami stuff. Yeah, because that's just going to be devastating. But I wanted to share that so we can see certain things that are sort of like unfolding. Also as well, Mars and K2 will also be in Leo, which remember Leo is a sensitive point for the Japan chart. So they're going to be over here in the 10th house, yeah, which means name, fame, career, etc. Also as well, when Mars and K2 come close together, this can also talk about terrorism as well. Gee whiz. I hope not. I know it sounds a bit doom and gloom, but you never know. It could even be maybe even an act of terror. It would be unusual, wouldn't it, for Japan? We don't normally hear about these things. Or maybe there's a big power cut or something like that, or something explodes or blows up. Yeah, Mars deals a lot with explosions. K2 is very, very intense. Their energies, when combined, are very, very intense. Yeah, intense energies. Rahu will be in the 4th house, which deals with land and real estate, and also as well, let's see here, Japan has also got Pluto with the moon. Yeah, so that adds a lot of intensity to things. So without going too much into endless amounts of detail, you can see why people are talking about this. We have to see. Yeah, I hope it does not happen. It just goes without incident and we just forget about it. Yeah, and we just forget about it. However, you know, it is tricky. What's it called? Let's just see here. Someone's saying here, how do I say that? Anomalous, I think is the best way to say that. Just check Japan's earthquake info. There was an underwater quake today. Wow. Adjacent sea of Tokara Islands. Look at that. Look, that's in real time. I didn't even know that. Thanks so much for sharing that. So, you know, there can be, and then Sandra Doyle says, is as in aligning our frequencies with the divine. I'm not sure what she was referred to. And then Sandra Doyle said, people raising our frequencies, overcoming deficits issue with higher frequencies. Yeah, someone was saying, Liz Burnson, I don't agree with Joni Petrie about everything politically, but I still watch her. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Just strip the politics out and just listen to the experience and wisdom. She is an extremely seasoned Vedic astrologer, and and sometimes she's really on the money. So I try not to bring a person's politics into it. If I can, I can talk about my personal things and stuff like that, but I try not so much for other people, particularly fellow YouTubers as well. But yeah, so what's this? And then so there's another dialogue going on here. Yeah, so that's why I shared that, so you can see that the context. I don't want it to come across as, too fear-mongery or what have you, anything like that. But this is a very famous prediction that is out there. And I have been asked about it several times, and I just thought it was worth one last look. Let's just hope it just passes like a ship in the night. And we're all like, yeah. And we're all like, we're letting it go. There could be another date in December, but anyway. So I wanted to give that context there. But either way, Japan's economy is very important to the global economy and America's economy in particular, which is why people are finding it, and the Japanese as well, are finding it so perplexing that they've been slapped with 25% tariffs, because they're like, we own your debt. It's like, what are you doing? We own your debt. Yeah. If they wanted to get back, all they'd have to do is just sell some of it, and that would be it. US economy will tank overnight, but we have to see how that plays out. Now, something else to discuss in terms of economy and stuff, we need to discuss stable coins. Now, as you know, I've talked quite a lot about digital currencies, haven't I? And just to repeat again, I said when Uranus goes into sidereal Taurus, we're going to be dealing with what? Digital money. Yeah. So let's just do, and then I'm gonna close with the spat between Elon Musk and Trump, which is on a certain level hilarious. I mean, in a way, but it's also not funny because it's so incredibly serious. But this is where we are right now. Let's just see here. I think that's the one I want to share. Let's do this. All right, so you can see here on the screen, June 17th, 2025, the Senate passed the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stable Coins, yeah? Genius Act. Obviously, they had to word it that way because they think they're geniuses, don't they? Anyway, the Genius Act, with a bipartisan 68-30 vote, marking a significant legislative milestone for the cryptocurrency industry. Yeah. So let's just have a little look and see what Reuters is saying. I think we can all trust Reuters, isn't it? So what's this here? Allow all. So US Senate passes stablecoin bill in milestone for crypto industry. So do you see here how what I was predicting with this channel ages ago now? I mean, when did I start this channel? I started it on, what is it? I think it was 1st of January 2025. And obviously I made other financial predictions on my global astrology channel, but here I was, you guys know anyway, I was categorical, wasn't I? I said when Uranus is in sidereal Taurus, which it is now in Western Tropical, they're saying it's close to Gemini and what have you. But in terms of astronomical space, it's in the constellation of Taurus. And I said, Uranus is what? Digital. I said, this will do with cryptocurrency here. And of course, there's been many things, with Bitcoin, etc. There's been talk of crypto reserve, etc. But here we can see in black and white, US Senate passes stablecoin bill in milestone for crypto industry. So it's come true, yeah, as predicted. You guys know this anyway, so I don't need to keep repeating myself. But, for those that are new, yeah, voila. Summary: stablecoin bill requires tokens backed by liquid assets. Concerns over big tech and foreign stablecoin issuers. House must pass its version before reaching Trump's desk. So I'm sure the House is probably going to pass it, and Trump is very keen to get this signed off because one of his family's companies, what is it called? It's called World Liberty Financial. Yeah, that's Trump's family's company. They want to issue their stable coin. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. You know, this is probably why he's doing all of these things with this so-called big, beautiful bill. Yeah. Trying to kind of get rid of one thing to maybe get something else in. Wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, June 17th, Reuters, the US Senate on Tuesday passed a bill to create a regulatory framework for US dollar pegged cryptocurrency tokens known as stablecoins. In a watershed moment for the digital asset industry, voila, Uranus in Taurus, yeah, not Gemini. The bill, dubbed the Genius Act, received bipartisan support, with several Democrats joining most Republicans to back the proposal for proposed federal rules. It passed by 68 to 30, so that's, you know, it cleared the bar by a big margin. The House of Representatives, which is controlled by Republicans, needs to pass its version of the bill before it heads to President Donald Trump's desk for approval. So, of course, he's going to sign that because he launched a meme coin, didn't he? What is it, 3 days before his presidency, and became a genuine billionaire this time. Anyway, I digress. Let's read a little bit more. It's a major milestone, said Andrew Ullman. Now, remember, Uranus deals with innovation, yeah, leaps forward. It's the planet that helps spur the Industrial Revolution. Why does it matter when it's in Taurus? Because Taurus is a tangible sign, tangible assets. When Uranus was in Aries, this was when all Bitcoin and all of that stuff was developing. We had Brexit, we had all of these different things. But Taurus is about something tangible, something touchable, something real. This is when things go mainstream. Uranus moved into Taurus 1st of June last year. Like I said, stayed in for a bit, dipped out, back in. So now it's going to be staying in the sign of Taurus for the next 7 years. So we are in tremendous change. So we're in times of that are kind of like the Second World War kind of times. We see it is a Uranus return for Japan. It is a Uranus return for the USA as well. We see what the impact of AI. This is the next industrial revolution. Unfortunately, a lot of people are losing their jobs. So do you see there's, because things are being outsourced to AI, these tech companies are basically laying off staff and using digital staff instead. Yeah. Uranus, yeah, giving that shock of the new. And Uranus is quite a malefic planet. It's not a comfortable planet. It doesn't bring comfortable change. And when it comes to Taurus, it means uncomfortable things can happen in terms of our sense of stability, our finances, our money, which is why I've been yakking on about this for so long. Stable coins is a type of cryptocurrency designed to maintain a constant value, usually a one-to-one dollar peg, are commonly used by crypto traders to move funds between tokens. So if you get some Bitcoin and you want to turn it into Ethereum, or you want to, you know, do this, you can use a stable coin to help with that conversion. Their use has grown rapidly in recent years, and proponents say that they could be used to send payments instantly. This is true. Yeah, you could have like a digital wallet with stable coins, so you get paid, like say, like for example, you earning your money in dollars, and those become stable coins. Yeah, those become digitalized. You could, anyone else with a wallet, you could just pay straight away. Yeah, and we can already do this already, but this would be even quicker if signed into law. So if it's not signed into law yet, very likely though, if signed into law, the stable coin would require tokens to be backed by liquid assets such as US dollars and short-term treasury bills, and for issuers to publicly disclose the composition of their reserves on a monthly basis. The crypto industry has long pushed for lawmakers to pass legislation creating rules for digital assets, arguing that a clear framework would enable stablecoins to become more widely used. The sector spent more than 119 million backing pro-crypto congressional candidates in last year's elections and had tried to paint the issue as bipartisan. So you see there. So that's already talking about the influence. I'll stop there and go back to you guys here. So do you see why I'm talking about this? We've got the confluence of several things happening at once. Yeah. Let's just see here. Tobias here. Hello. I think I saw you today, didn't I, Tobias? So yeah, she's saying hi, Hoagie, and everyone. And Laurie's here saying hi, Hoagie and friends. So much appreciated. Thanks for joining me. So we see there's a confluence of several different things. We're going through rapid change. This is the new industrial revolution, or aren't they calling it the third industrial revolution, or the second industrial revolution, something like that, which is crypto, digital, all of this kind of stuff. Now, in the dying minutes, let's talk about Elon and Trump. So they're arguing again, and I did a video on these two when I was in Marseille, and a lot of people were like, well, you know, Elon's going to win this fight. And I said, no, I said, I think it's going to be Trump. Yeah, because Trump literally holds the Trump cards. At the end of the day, Trump is the president, Elon isn't. Yeah, Elon said, well, you know, basically I've got youth on my side. You know, you're going to be gone in a few years. I'll be here for 40 years. Well, you might need to think about that, Elon. Yeah, there's a lot that Trump could do to Elon. Anyway, so let's do share screen again, just to keep you guys all up to date on where it is with this shtick. Now, I'm going to share with you this is called Live Now. Now, I don't know if they are Republican, Democrat, whatever. I just don't know. You know, I was just looking around for source material that I could share with you guys. So it says here, Trump deporting Elon Musk. Yeah, the backstory. President Trump took time to speak with reporters Tuesday morning as he made his way from the White House to Air Force One. He's flying to Florida to visit a new immigration detention site in the Everglades. Oh dear. Yeah. So that's even more places where ICE can fling innocent people. But anyway, read more. So, and he said what he said around the time mark 4:15. A reporter asked him if he was going to deport Elon Musk. So let's just see if that's the case.
Well, what happened to Elon Musk? Said about things, but Elon Musk, nothing. You know, he's upset. He's losing his EV mandate, and he's he's very upset about things, but you know, he could lose a lot more than that. I can tell you right now.
Yeah, he said he could lose a lot more than that.
Elon could lose a lot more than that. We hope it's a hospital. Down, break it down. I guess that's the concept. If you this, and you know what? You can't
scroll this along.
Now be used because the Atomic Energy Commission said you can't.
I can't find the clip, and I don't want to hear Trump yabbing too much. Anyway, around the 4-minute mark, they asked him, so it says here, around time at 4:15, a reporter asked him if he was going to deport Elon. Now, do you remember I said in my video in Marseille, for those that watch Hogarth's Global Astrology, I said Trump could deport Elon. All it would take would an executive order, you know, would be what does it. So, and he says, do you know, he says, and they're going to ask him if he's going to deport Elon. He says, I don't know. We'll have to take a look. Trump replied, we might have to put Doge on Elon, you know. Do you know that, he says, do you know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon, he continued before switching topics to Musk's subsidies with Tesla and electric cars. For context, Musk was born in South Africa in 1971. He became a US citizen through the process of naturalization and reportedly also has Canadian citizenship. However, Elon's brother confessed years ago that they overstayed their student visa and shouldn't have even been in the country when they were. Yeah. So this is something that really could happen, and this is an idle threat. Duck Orange can do this. Yeah, Trump could do this anyway. So let's just play you this bit here.
Commander-in-Chief and the big beautiful bill, and there has been some tension and some back and forth as it relates to this bill with the Commander-in-Chief and Elon Musk. Take a look at your screen. This is the very latest.
Now this bill is dreadful. I just want you to know it's a dreadful bill, but I'm going to play you this bit here.
It's from President Donald Trump. He provided the statement via Truth Social. He says, quote, Elon Musk knew long before he so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. It is ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far. And without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. Perhaps you would have Doge take a look. Hard, good, look at this. Big money to be saved, end quote. So that's the very latest from the Commander-in-Chief. Elon.
Right. So did you hear that? Yeah. This is what is being said on independent media for ages now. That basically Elon is a welfare queen. Yeah, that's the language that they use, particularly in the United States. But it's true. He would not be the multi-billionaire that he is without government subsidies. Trump has the power of the pen and can delete, put a line through all of that in no time. So I just a mosquito there that I had to get rid of. Yeah, can just put right through that. And even though Elon at the time with his first spat with Trump was talking about the Epstein files and stuff like that, the stuff that is incriminating Trump, that ain't coming out. That's why it hasn't come out yet. And he thought that would topple him. No. Duck Orange has the power of the pen. Elon was in America under false pretenses anyway. It wouldn't take much of an ICE investigation. And they are already deporting US-born citizens, let alone naturalized ones. It could be very easy to get rid of Elon, and this is why Trump is saying what he's saying. But part of the reason why he's saying this is because of what Elon said.
Musk responding on X, formerly known as Twitter. He says, quote, if this insane spending bill passes, the America Party will be formed the next day. Our country needs an alternative to the Democrat-Republican uniparties so that the people actually have a voice. Fox News has been covering this from all sides. We know Musk's criticism of the Republican spending package began before he even left the Trump administration as a special government employee heading to the Department of Government Efficiency, commonly known as DOGE.
Right. So we see now, do you see how this all dovetails together? And that's why I put in, Japan, looking at Japan's chart and giving you guys the update on stable coins, and then giving you the updates on Elon Musk and Trump. Yeah. And why this matters, because that bill is called the Big Beautiful Bill, but it's not. It's horrific. Yeah. In its current form, it is an absolute horror show. I think didn't call it, what did Elon call it? He called it the big fat piggy bill or something like that. Anyway, so now he's playing all pious and he's being like, oh, this is going to destroy the American people, and we need another party, and they're all going to be primaried and stuff like that. But one of his main beefs, main reason that he's upset, is because Trump has obviously removed the part which is subsidies for e-vehicles. Now, of course, this is a mistake. I'm not a big fan of Elon Musk, but I'm a fan of cars that cause less pollution. Yeah, and it makes sense that countries invest in the future. As much as people might talk about China opening a coal power station every week, what also needs to be discussed, which has not been talked about, is that most of their cars are now running on electricity. So from what I understand, almost all the major cities of Japan now are running on super efficient electric cars called BYD. I think there's one or two others. And they've now developed a battery that can charge in 5 minutes. 5 minutes you can be fully charged, run for miles and miles and miles and miles. So you don't see much people in the West talking about that, because one thing, it still has to, the electricity has to come from somewhere, but air quality is going to improve a lot, isn't it, if there's no fumes from these EVs, from these electric cars. And these cars are being used all over the world. BYD completely outperforms Tesla. The reason why you don't have them in America is because there is a strong tariff on those cars already. Yeah, so you'd have to pay twice the amount for a BYD car, which would just absolutely slap the face of a Tesla anyway. So Elon was happy about that, because his cars, even though they're not as good as BYD, were being protected. But now in this big, beautiful bill, Trump has come along and gone, yeah, slapped him right in the chops and got rid of it in favor for, old school fossil fuel industries and all this stuff. I mean, it's all regressive anyway. Look, we've got massive climate change. We're here in a huge heat wave in Europe. Spain hit 46 degrees in June for the first time ever. 46 degrees. Today, I think we're like 33 degrees, maybe even 35 in the UK. Like, that's hot for us. That's very hot. And it's virtually unheard of in June. June is probably should be around about 23 degrees, which is about 70 something Fahrenheit in loose change. Yeah. Once you start getting up to like 30s, you're getting close to like 100. Yeah, as you guys would call it in the States, if you're watching from America. Anyway, putting it all together. Yeah. Do you see how this all works together? This bill, Elon is right about the devastation that this bill will cause. He is correct about that. Where he is not genuine is him saying that he cares about the American people. He doesn't. He has ruined lives already with Doge, as we know. Mercilessly got people fired and sacked with his tech goons and this, that, and the other. And the main reason why he was doing things with Doge was to end the investigations that were against him and his faulty Tesla cars, because so many people have died from Tesla crashes, and all of his industry BS that he's doing, and all of his tomfoolery and, cooking the books and all of this kind of stuff. He got all of those investigations stopped against him, and then all of that data that he's filched from all these different government agencies is obviously given to or sold to Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is the guy at Palantir, and Palantir is the major surveillance industry thing that came into being soon after the attacks of September the 11th, when George Bush Jr. changed the rules and basically allowed surveillance. And this is so much of what the Edward Snowden files and all of it. Did you see what was all about? He's of course now in Russia. So what I'm showing is everything is coming together, because Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. Uranus is tech, but Taurus is what? Tangible things, values, money, the stuff that we use every day, food, currency, paying for things, buying things, selling things. Do you see how it's all coming together? Now we have the stable coins, and now we have this big, beautiful bill, which if it stays in its current form, I think it's still going to cut, what, 80 odd billion from Medicaid and all the other stuff. There's also rules and regulations in there as well, which would mean that digital AI would be unstoppable. You wouldn't be able to stop, no court would be able to stop companies with their AI progress. So again, you see Uranus in Taurus, AI and all of that stuff, it potentially could be running rampant. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens if there's going to be any significant amendments to this bill. But it's just bad news. Yeah, in terms of it on that front, it only helps, really only helps the billionaires and the oligarchy. But with that Uranus being in Taurus, we see how it's shaking things up. Now, what's the counter? What's the pushback? Protest. Yeah, protests, boycott, where you choose to spend your money. Yeah, where you choose to spend your money is one of the most powerful things that you can do. Yeah, where you choose to spend your money. If you're not happy with the oligarchy and all of that stuff, stop buying their stuff. It does work. The protests in the street, very, very powerful. It does work. Yeah, because Uranus is also rebellion and protest. So you see the energy can work the other way. Yeah, we can use it in the positive sense as well. So let's see here. Someone's saying, Brenda Allen saying, this bill also gives ICE huge amounts of money as well, of course. And Lilith is saying, yes, once the temperature hits 80s, yeah, 80, that's hot. Yeah, we're above that. Lily Rose saying 110 here at the moment in Scottsdale, Arizona. Wow. I mean, that's just blistering heat. Oh, Sandra Dale says, Hergy published a great astrological book recently. Thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying it. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying it. And don't forget as well, I've got my retreats. I'll be teaching my retreats when in Ibiza. Forgive me as I do a little bit of a plug here of my new website. I just want to show you guys it. This is the new website here. It's my logo there. All my stuff, you know, consultations, etc. That's real, by the way. That's not Photoshop. That was a genuine flare there. Some of you probably have seen this already, but feel free to check it out. Also, as well, if you'd like a consultation with me, I'll do all sorts of things. You know, I look at some reviews there. Ibiza, yeah. My retreat is happening 7th to the 10th of November in Ibiza. Here's the book, and of course, consultations, etc. You can get in touch here if you've got any questions. I'll click on this. And then, so there's all the details down here about the retreat, Agua Madeira, etc. It's gorgeous. Oh, it's so beautiful. The second I walked in, I just knew. I love this photograph here as well. Again, not Photoshop. That is light painting, yeah. And oh, I've got to share some more pictures like this. And this, of course, some people that I gave a talk to, etc. Oh, and this is Esvedra. Look at this beautiful mountain. We won't be going to this mountain, but we're going to be looking at the mountain for the closing ceremony and stuff like that. So if any of you are curious about that, consultations would be on my retreat. And of course, go to my website, which is hogarthglobalastrology.com. And of course, it will be linked in the description below. I'm going to leave it there. Someone's saying great picture. Thank you. I'm going to leave it there. Food for thought, eh? Food for thought. So how do we change the outcomes? How do we, what we buy, what we consume, what we watch makes a difference. Makes a difference. It really does make a difference. And one of the ways that we can fight back is economically, by not consuming or not supporting, you know, the oligarchy and stuff like that. With this bill, oh man, it's just, I really just hope it doesn't pass. But I mean, it's already passed the Senate already. I hope there are major amendments to the bill, but I'm not holding my breath. But let's jump that bridge when we get to it. But I hope you found that show interesting, yeah? Japan, how Japan's economy is linked with the US economy, stable coins, Uranus in Taurus, these advancements, and then of course this bill, the spat between Duck Orange Trump and Elon. Very interesting to see how these things will play out. I'm going to leave it there for now. So thank you so much as well. For those who donated and have been supporting my channel, please be sure to like and subscribe if it's your first time here. And I hope you found that interesting. Yeah, you're going to see me tomorrow on Hogalish. So I need to get the advert up. Well, not the advert, the letting you guys know about that. I need to publish that on Hogarth's Global Astrology, so you can ask me questions. But I hope you found that interesting. And yeah, let's watch this space. Let's see what happens, and let's hope the worst does not happen. Yeah, in Japan. All right, big love. Bye-bye for now. Cheers.